All right. Well, welcome to what I think the first Zoom meeting for the City of Brisbane's Park and Recreation Commission. And I'd like to start off this meeting by reading the Zoom rules, and pardon me while I read them. I haven't memorized them yet. This virtual meeting is compliant with the Governor's Executive Order N2920, issued on March 17, 2020, allowing for deviation of teleconference rules required by the Brown Act. Consistent with the order, this virtual meeting provides a safe environment for staff, Parks and Recreation Commissioners, and the public while allowing for public participation. The public may address the Commission using the exclusively remote public comment options, which I will detail. If you'd like to address the Commission, when an item you're interested in appears on the agenda, you may address the Commission at that time. If the matter you're interested in is not on the Commission's agenda, but is a matter that is within the Commission's subject matter jurisdiction, you may address it under Citizens Communications. Meeting participants are encouraged to submit public comments in advance of the meeting. Public meeting videos will be viewed or can be live and or on demand via the city's YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Brisbane CA, or on Comcast Channel 27. Archive videos can be replayed on the city's website via all meeting page, http://brisbaneca.org/city-government/meetings. The following email and text line will be monitored during the meeting, and public comments received will be read into record under Citizens Communications. Email to snahass@brisbaneca.org, or you may text to 415-519-9588. With that, I'd like to call to order this meeting Wednesday, June 10th, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. Now a roll call.
Chairperson Boggs.
Present.
Commissioner Boligoff.
Present.
Commissioner Cavino.
Present.
Commissioner Fryer.
Present.
Commissioner Marmion.
Present.
And Commissioner Needham.
Present.
And we are missing Commissioner Ocampo this evening.
Okay. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Does anybody have any additions or changes that they would like to bring up? And
I move we accept the agenda as read.
do we have a second?
I second that.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Do we need to do a roll call with that as well? For
Yes.
the approval? All right.
I'm sorry.
So we need to do
So
a roll
it was
call
a-
for
Yeah, it was
approve.
a motion from Commissioner Boligoff and a second from Commissioner Marmion, but we need to do a roll call on it to adopt the minutes.
What I just did.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. Commissioner Boggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Boligoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavino.
Yes.
Commissioner Fryer.
Yes.
Commissioner Marmion.
Yes.
And Commissioner Needham.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you. And then approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
And a second?
I'll second that. Marmion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do I need to roll call that?
Yes.
Commissioner Boggs.
Yes.
Commissioner Boligoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavino.
Yes.
Commissioner Fryer.
I have to abstain because I was not at that meeting.
Commissioner Marmion.
Yes.
And Commissioner Needham.
I have to abstain as likewise I was not present at that meeting.
All right. And now we're here at Citizens Communications. Staff, do we have any citizens communication?
Yes, we have one. I will go ahead and read that. So this one is from Michael Barnes, submitted through email. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Over the course of 5 years, I mentored 16 teens in the effort to get a new skate park. 15 of these teens were boys and 1 was a girl. They were articulate, knowledgeable, respectful, succinct speakers at the dozen or more city meetings they attended. Their focused advocacy and persistence was rewarded with a wonderful skate park that all enjoy. Part of what galvanized support in the greater Brisbane community was a public art graffiti project in the skate park. The painting of a giant, quote, Brisbane, with the skater as the, quote, A was very popular, and illustrated that skaters are a part of our community. They are active and that they repurposed the existing word for skating use. Over 600 t-shirts with this image were sold to Brisbane residents, demonstrating to the City Council that there was broad support among voters and parents for this recreational facility. The current public art mural for the skate park fails for a number of reasons. There's a 6-foot-tall map of Brisbane not half a block away, with a welcome to Brisbane attached to, so including these features in a skate park mural is redundant. The butterflies featured on the proposed mural have nothing to do with the urban character or uses of the skate park, basketball court, or community park, and are just pretty pictures like we already see on Midtown Market and will soon see in the new library. Good public art informs, challenges, or makes us think. This mural is just colorful, gracious marketing material. But the biggest concern I have is how the art process was corrupted. First, there was an effort to keep any representation of skaters off this mural. It took one of our teen skaters to attend the art subcommittee to overcome the city council member prohibition of skaters on the skate park wall. When asked by the subcommittee what he thought of the mural, his only comment was, "I don't see any skaters." In response, the artist and subcommittee have represented him as a woman, with one skater in the whole mural. A predictably punishing message from the city to a teenage boy who dared to participate in the city process. Second, the subcommittee spent months redesigning the, quote, art, meaning that it is no longer the vision of an artist, but the political will of a committee, and a complete failure of the purpose and process of public art. I suggest the process start over without the interference of elected officials. Respectfully, Michael Barnes.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Michael.
I raised my hand here. I have a point of order. This thing shouldn't come under citizens communications because it is directly related to something that's on our agenda. Do I have that correct?
That's correct.
So that went out of order. We should come back and revisit that when we get to the new business, which is
new business.
Yes. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. And then do we address that, or is it just going to be acknowledged at that time?
Well, my understanding is that when somebody comes to speak to us under citizens communication, it's not under our obligation to address it in any regard. But since this is something that is relates directly to something on the agenda, then I think that would be something that we would be free to discuss. Do I have that right, Noreen?
Yes, you can discuss it. You'll have an opportunity to discuss it under the new business item after the staff report is provided.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So then we will take this back up after the presentation later in the meeting. All right. Then that actually brings us up to presentations, which we don't have any. And then we'll move on to old business, which we don't have any of. And that brings us to new business, which is about the skate park public art. And so I would like to turn that over to Stuart.
Sure. Sarah, do we have an ability to put a picture of the mural up?
Yes.
Yes, she has it, so she can go ahead and place it up for us.
Okay. That'd be, if you could do that, so as I talk, I could explain the piece of art. So, as you know, this is the Public Art Committee. On March 7th, it's in the staff report, so let me just let it, for anybody who's watching on TV. On March 17th, 2019, the City Council approved $25,000 from the Public Art Fund to place a piece of public art on the quarter pipe facing Old County Road. The council then appointed 2 additional members onto the Public Arts Committee to create a Public Art Collections Committee. These 2 were members of the community at large, one of which, as you know, is somebody who is a skater in town. On October 3rd, 2019, the City Council approved Galen Smith of Science and Company to design and install the mural at the skateboard park. It's attached and it's showing right now. How about if we go with, just keep the first image up? There you go. So this piece of art speaks to the entire community. It was, as you recently just heard, it went through a number of iterations with the Public Art Selection Committee to work on the design, to work on the colors, to make sure that it represented the entire city. The artist himself sat at the skateboard park for 2 to 3 weeks at different times of the day, talking to people throughout the town, asking them what their thoughts of what was important for them in Brisbane. And what he brought back was a representation of what he heard from all the different people he talked to, including skaters, including passerbys, whoever he was able to talk to and stop. What he heard very much was that we are reflective of the fauna and flora in the community, which you see reflected at the right of my right of the mural with the butterfly and the flowers that you would see on San Bruno Mountain. It's also, what he heard was that we are reflective of the mountain itself, which he put into a more stylized form in the middle. And on the left, what he also heard was that we have a very diverse community of different people who are very interested in learning and knowing new things. So what you're looking at on the left is a group of people who are looking at an idea and how that idea spreads throughout the town. He also put in there a map of the central Brisbane, which he had heard. He put in the letters "Welcome to Brisbane," which was very important. And through the conversations with the committee, the skater was added to this proposal. The colors were very much debated to make sure that they were bright enough to be able to be seen and recognized, and distinctive enough that they added attraction to it. One of the things that the committee really likes about this is that you can look at it quickly from a distance as you're driving by or in the park and get one impression of it. But then as you come up closer to it, it's layered and you can see a lot of different aspects of this mural. So the mural provides an opportunity for many different experiences of it, depending on where you are and how you look at it and what mood you are in that day when you're seeing it. The different shadings, the different layering really attracted the committee, and by the time that this was done, everybody in the committee unanimously voted to present this mural to the Parks and Recreation Commission for their recommendation to the City Council, which would be the next step in having this approved. And Bonnie and Kevin were both on the committee, and if you would like to add anything to the conversation, please do, because as a staff person, I can only observe what goes on. I don't participate in the same way.
I know that we worked on this a long time to get the final mural, and I think it's perfect.
Commissioner Fryer, do you have anything that you want to add? Oh, you're muted.
Kevin, you're muted.
There we go. I had a conversation with Renee when we first got our packet, and she pointed out something which did give me pause, and that's that the adult male in the mural has a resemblance to Ron Davis. Now that's entirely accidental. But once I saw it, I couldn't undo it. And I thought further, through this week of tumultuous national grieving that we've been going through, that to another point, regardless of, it certainly wasn't intended to be that way, but are we in a blind spot that we have the one adult figure being a white male in a time when we are all having a close examination about cultural diversity? So I think that's something that we really should talk about. And I do want to say, to Michael Barnes's point, there was a real tension through this whole process between whether this mural should represent a welcome to Brisbane kind of thing, or whether it should represent a reference to the skate park. And I thought as the process was going along that we were really putting the pieces in place to try to be inclusive of both. But it is true in what his comments are that when we got the first rendition of this, there was absolutely no reference to skaters at all, and that surprised me. I think that surprised a number of people on the subcommittee. We sort of worked through it, then we added a reference to it. But I think that Michael Barnes's observations that there were some political undertones to this process, I would agree with that. So that's my comments.
Okay. I'm not on the project, but is this the time that we would open this up for discussion? Or is Stuart, would you like to talk some more about the actual project?
No, I mean, this is a perfect time to have a discussion about it. The process is for the Parks and Recreation Commission to make a recommendation to the City Council, and then for the City Council to make whatever decision that they make. The last one is just showing the Pantone colors. That was one of the areas of conversation at the committee meeting, is to understand what the Pantone colors were. So they don't mean much to me, but they might to other people.
Well, I know that they represent, the numbers are representative of the specific colors, and so.
Right. But the problem is always when you're looking at a rendition on a computer screen, you may not actually see the actual color that will be there. So some of the concern from the committee was trying to truly understand what the colors themselves would look like. So they asked to have the Pantone colors on this portion because it was more important. So that's why you're seeing this here.
Okay.
But I am not a color person, so I could not tell you what 278U meant versus a 263, other than one's a darker purple and then a lighter purple. Is the best I can tell.
You would look at the chart, the Pantone charts, and you can get a non-digital Pantone sheet that would show you the true colors. So you could actually then take that sheet and look to see what that color really looks like with the number. That's really the only reason for the difference. So, but that's cool to know. Well, I feel like this is now when we should open it up to people. Is there any other commissioners that have thoughts about this?
Having not been part of the process, I guess one of the questions I would have is, are we seeking to present skate culture, or are we seeking to have a welcome sign for Brisbane?
I think the goal from the committee was to have an art piece that represented all of Brisbane and was welcoming to all of Brisbane. And the reason is that this does not face the skateboard park directly, and it faces outside the skateboard park, so it's for people who are passing by the skateboard park to get a sense of what the city of Brisbane is. That was the understanding I think that the committee was going with.
No, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that. And you know, I'll go back to the very beginning of this because I do want to address this political underpinning because I think that the political tension around this project did cause some problems. In the very first meeting that we had about potentially making this a public art thing, a project, our first public art project, and we were discussing the possibility of an RFP. And I remember the meeting quite distinctly because Madison Davis said comments about Michael Barnes with such vitriol that Dan Carter closed the door to the meeting such that somebody in the hallway would not overhear what was being said, putting an open meeting into a closed meeting in violation of Brown Act. That made a deep impression on me. And Stuart didn't call us out on that. It was we were just getting to know each other, and I thought to myself, whoa, we've got a problem here. And so from that point, we worked to put into the RFP the inclusion that it should be have some representation from of the skate park. We also worked to get somebody on that committee, on the larger committee, who was a skater. We had a great person, Evan. I'm forgetting his last name. He had been one of the skaters that had come to the city council meetings. He had graduated from high school, and now he is a music major at Oberlin, a very prestigious music school. So we put the pieces in place to make sure that it had a reference to the skate park. It is painted on the skate park, even as we also understood that it wasn't a prominent place where people drive into Brisbane. So we were struggling with this, with on a rather small palette, or small canvas, trying to put both a Welcome to Brisbane idea, which some people had, and a representation of skate culture, which some people were vehemently opposed to, as was quite clearly articulated in that early meeting by Madison Davis. So I think that this is our first time out doing this, and I think that the process did have some problems. The other thing I would say about it is we must have had 6 meetings with the artist. The poor artist, well-meaning people. I understand well-meaning people that want to get in there and fuss with the color and a little to the left and a little to the right and all that sort of stuff. But I think that we went overboard in micromanaging the details of it. The adult male, which appears in this, which I think is something we should discuss in light of what's happened nationally in the last week, centered around racism, was an addition by the committee. That was not in the original thing. The skater, which we see a shadow of a skater, Michael Barnes in his comment points out that it appears to be a woman. I don't know that I have much issue with that, but that is just a sort of token reference to all this. The Pantone numbers that we see at the end, what the hell is that about? What are we doing Pantone numbers? It meant nothing. We added that thing in the second to the last meeting, and then the poor artist has got to take all the time, and time is money, and he's got to put them in, and then they comes up at the meeting and nothing happens from it. I know that those things are well-meaning, but I think art by committee is a difficult thing to do well. And there's a difficult balance between giving the artist license to take in all the information, create something, and present it to us, a committee that needs to make sure that what is presented is acceptable to the community, but not being overbearing. And I think that our committee was I ended up just losing interest in the numbers of little quibbling over color and palette and details and so on. Towards the end of it, I thought, well, this is our first time out. it's part of a learning curve. We're erring on the side of being a little overly, what do I want to say, overly diligent in getting input, and hopefully with future efforts, we will loosen up a little bit and allow the artist to be the artist. I think that there's a mistake that well-intentioned people make, where they confuse having good taste with talent, and the two are very different things.
Thank you, Richard, or Kevin. I mean, I agree with you regarding the people, and I think that even regardless of the times, we should look at the message we're sending. And I also
Renee
think...
has her hand up, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Renee.
Oh, I was wondering what was going on. If we're raising hands, I hit the hand button, or how we're doing it. Anyway, yes, as Kevin said, I when I first saw this, I thought, well, did they take a picture of somebody? And because I didn't recognize any of the children, but I thought, that's Ron Davis. And I didn't know if it was him or not. I didn't know if they took pictures. I didn't know what the whole criteria of the committee was. I mean, I applaud them. I know how it is to be on these committees, and you work hard and you do the recommendations. And I also put out there for the artists too, going through all this. But I don't know if unless you're going to be diversified and put every type of ethnic group in there, I don't know if I'd put any people in there. Maybe the mountain, maybe the silhouette of the skater, I understand. I didn't even realize that the map was in there until Stuart just said that. I didn't get that. I find it hard to even read Brisbane. When you first see this, it's shadowed in. To me, I'm not real impressed with this mural, I hate to say. I've seen a lot of murals, and I'm not a big artistic critic here. So I do want to, that's my input. And I know everybody worked real hard on putting this in these meetings.
Okay, Lyle also has his hand up.
Lyle?
Yes, I was muted. So I want to echo the sentiments of Kevin. When I did see the mural, first of all, the color disproportionality of the adults and the people drew my eye, of course, to that. I guess I have a few questions up to the committee, to the subcommittee that worked on the proposal of this mural. Was there a vision statement or a description of the scope of what the mural was? First of all, to understand, did the scope that was called out as the mission of what the mural should represent, was it followed? Was it, at the end of it, did it meet that criteria? The second thing is, in the citizens communication that was discussed for Michael, he talked about a logo or some art that was out there. Is that art something that we can see? That's something that art was presented as an idea? Because one thing that this, to me, doesn't say is skate park. It's on the skate park, but nothing about it says it's a skate park. Nothing about it tells me what happened in that space, in the skate park, and in the basketball courts behind it. That recreational space, this mural's not saying anything. It is in my mind, it looks like a billboard for the town of Brisbane. That's well and good to have that, but that's not, again, in my mind, this is a mural representing the area and the locale where it's at, and the recreation that's being put in there with the skate park, the basketball behind it, and in front of the skate park, the community park. The representation of parks and rec and is not demonstrated in the mural. Yes, there are aspects of nature and science and the town and a sign and the colors, but it doesn't come to me as something that is in meeting with what I would believe would be the mission statement or the scope of what it was. And so my questions are to the subcommittee: was there a scope document, a vision document that was put together that they were looking at, and was art from other individuals, such as what Michael referred to in his email communication, put forth to the committee to see about incorporating some of that in this?
I can take a stab at that, and then Stuart, you might speak to that as well. So there was an RFP put out, which my memory of, I don't have it in front of me. My memory was that it loosely defined that this should both reflect the facility that it's on, and also it is a major feature as you drive into Brisbane. So the welcome to Brisbane kind of idea. So that wasn't the scope of it. The artist did sit down there for 3 weeks, I forget the number of times, and take input from a lot of community members and skaters as well. My understanding was that there was a skaters club up at Littman, and they all came down and talked to him, which was all the more surprising that when the first draft came to us, there was no reference at all to skating. But to the point that I said in my first thing, I think that there was an underlying tension on this committee between people who wanted to have the skate park represented and people who were quite dead set against it. So we went through the process, and this is what we've come up with. But I think it's quite nice, except I do think that the image of Ron Davis and the sensitivity to cultural diversity is something that if we approve this, we need to address that. But I was one who had hoped that there would be a better blend of the welcome to Brisbane aspect of it and the recognition that it is on a skate park and should have reference to skaters.
So I could read to you what we had written in the RFP, because I have that up on my computer.
Thanks.
Like.
Yes, please.
So the art installation at the skateboard park should be representative of the community and be meaningful to the patrons of the park. Although there is no theme for this piece, please note that this piece will be seen by our community park users, which is located directly across the street, as well as most people who come into and out of the city, since the skateboard park is located at one of the main entrance points into the city. All styles of art will be considered from strict representational to abstract.
So, Stuart, the line that says meaning to the users of the park, we're talking about the users of the skate park.
Yeah.
So in that regard, it I don't want to say it fails, because it does have a shadow of a skater in it, but it certainly didn't hit that mark.
Right. From what I recall, Kevin, is when Galen talked to the skaters, they too were talking about the mountain being meaningful to them, as well as the nature of everything that they have learned in school about the mountain and the butterflies, and all of that was very meaningful to the skaters. That's what Galen picked up when he talked to the skaters.
I don't remember that in any conversation. Is that a conversation that happened in the meeting?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
And I understand that it doesn't highlight the skaters directly, but as I said, that was what he picked up through his conversations with the skaters as well, that the mountain is very meaningful to them as well as to the whole community. That's why he tried to highlight a representation of the mountain as well as the fauna and flora.
Well, wait, there's no representation of the mountain in there, is there?
That is what the skater is skating on. The representation of the mountain.
Oh, I see. That's supposed to represent the mountain. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're right. Previously there was 4 different people. There was a different person on the far left, but what the committee was concerned about is that the committee thought it should represent people of all ages, not just the youth, because not just the youth would be looking at this mural, and they wanted to see everybody, all ages, within the mural itself.
Yes,
that was the conversation at the committee.
Yes, and the problem with the people on it is not, it was all of that was well intentioned how that came about, and the fact that the adult male figure, and I can't undo that bell now, resembles Ron Davis has nothing to do with any intention. I want to make sure that everybody understands, has nothing to do with any intention by the committee to put Ron Davis representing as the patriarchal figure representing the city of Brisbane. It's just by accident that and Renee's sharp eye, and once you see it, that gives concern. But the people aspect of it, our meeting was on Monday last week, and of course a whole lot has happened in the national consciousness about race relations and diversity and so on. And so my thing is, do we have a blind spot if we say by default that the patriarchal figure on this Welcome to Brisbane sign as it currently is structured is a white guy?
Maybe there are raised hands, and I will, as the chair, I just want to say that I did have my hand up for a while, and then I also want to recognize that Lyle and Renee are waiting as well. And I just want to quickly ask a question, and that is it at a point now where if we did agree that having those people, particularly in that picture, wouldn't be the best interest for this mural in light of what's happening? Is it too late to change that aspect, or is this something that we're talking about now as this is going to happen or not?
I would say that if the commission would like me to go back to the artist and talk to him about the representation of the 4 individuals, I'd be more than happy to do that and see where we are at. But that would probably mean we're not going to hit the June 18th meeting, and it would not go to the city council until sometime in September at the earliest.
Okay. Thank you, Stuart. And then Renee?
Hi, I just really wanted to make it really clear. I'm not saying that picture is Ron Davis. It just really resembled it to me. I just want to make that perfectly clear that was, stated. And I want to know, what are they looking at? I don't know what that picture is that the artist put in. The kids are looking at what in those bubbles, and
so it's supposed to be it's supposed to be the spark of an idea, and how the spark of an idea illuminates the people and illuminates the rest of the mural, and how from the spark of an idea the bubbles are extending out into Brisbane.
And that was the original intention of that when it was just children. I actually
don't get that.
When you explained it to us the first time, I thought I rather liked that aspect of it.
Yeah. Well, I don't get it. I'd rather have no people. Yeah, politically correct if you're going to do it.
And David keeps putting his hand up.
Yes, and Lyle's hand's been up as well. So Lyle and then David.
Yes, so Stuart, I want to go back to something that you were reading in the RFP. You talked about, it sounded to me like you mentioned both the skate park and the community park. It sounds to me like the mural should represent the recreation that's being used as well as those that enjoy the park. And that I took to be those who sit across from it or playing in or enjoying the community park, that this is what they could face and see if they're in the park. Mm-hmm. Yes, I get the idea of coming into town via vehicle or bike or motorbike, going by the sign, seeing it, boom. But if I'm sitting in the park for an afternoon on Sunday, a birthday party, or Saturday, a birthday party, or just enjoying the park, is this the thing that I want to look at for my 2 hours, 3 hours there? Does this represent what the skate park is behind and what the city of Brisbane is. That's what when I think about that, I don't get that feeling. I do get the feeling if I'm passing by it, I can maybe glean something by it each time I drive by, because like everyone's here, some people see the mountain, some people don't see the mountain, some people see the map, some people don't see the map right now. There's a palm tree in there, there's butterfly shadows, there's other layering and texturing. You're going to see different things every time you pass it by. Those bubbles that Renee is seeing, the light sees one thing now, but I guarantee you each time she passes by, her mind's going to keep drawing a different picture. That I get. When you're just sitting and looking at it, the same thing could happen. But again, is this a piece of art that you're going to be sitting across from a couple hours that says, this is what I want to have? That's what I was just making sure that focus got there. It sounds to me that the RFP was written, but as the subcommittee worked on this, part of that got lost about the recreation in the park, and it became more around the welcome piece to Brisbane, the for better lack of a term, the marketing of the town of Brisbane. But that's just my impressions. Again, first time seeing it based upon discussions happening.
Thank you, Lyle. David?
Actually share similar sentiments to Lyle in that I feel like it should be something that hopefully represents recreation, both the skate park, the basketball courts, but the park around it. And I think that's just doesn't contain really. I think really the one reference to really recreation is the skater, but the notion of ideas feels more like kind of a biotech ad versus really kind of a thoughtful inspiration of recreation community. And so I think I would have pause in proceeding with a recommendation on this. It feels kind of almost overly cluttered, if you will, relative to what I think it should be inspiring in our community. So those would be my thoughts.
All right. Does anybody else have a comment or anything that they want to ask? So at this point, the expectation is that we're going to give some sort of some kind of recommendation, either that we're going to say we approve it, or we have suggestions, or we don't approve it. Is that my understanding correct?
Yes, I mean, it could go forward to the city council with against your recommend. You could recommend against it, and then the city council can make their final decision which way they would want to go.
Okay.
And you can make a recommendation. I mean, and that may be the best way to do it, is for you to make a recommendation. If you want to see the people be different, make that recommendation to the city council. So that way, if the city council makes that says that they would approve it with a change of people, then we could probably get this moving along further than that. But if you want to just recommend against it entirely for other reasons, you can do that, and we could bring it to the city council, and then they do have the final. Obviously, they have the final say on what happens.
Right. So I guess I would ask from the committee, do you have anything that you would like to propose or put forward?
I would just say I'm in a difficult position here, because it feels like we have, in the committee with the artists, in our relationship with the artists, we just kept changing it and changing it and changing it. And the poor guy, and so to say, okay, now we're going to ask you for a whole bunch more changes, feels a little unkind. On the other hand, I think it has problems.
Okay. David?
I recommend that if we're not satisfied with how this represents the community and what it should be conveying in terms of both community and recreation, that to Kevin's point, rather than try to do art by committee, that perhaps the process should restart with a very clear set of objectives and kind of a vision perspective, I think taking into account everything that is currently going on have something that really represents our community in both the type of call to action of recreation and engagement that we would want to see. Would be my recommendation.
And it's so that if we did as a committee recommend, or commission recommend, not to go forward with this and to possibly start over, then Stuart's point is that if the Brisbane City Council wants to, they can just vote to move forward with it as it is. Is it, so I guess if that were the case, is it something that we feel comfortable with for them to just leave it the way it is?
No.
So is it possible to make a recommendation that, however we see that, and then and also included in that recommendation say, if we're not able to make that change, we would actually consider starting over again? Is that, because my concern would be that the city council's gone through, like what Kevin was just saying, so much time and work and asked this artist to change so many times that they might, in retrospect, just say this is the product and we're going to go forward with it if we say we want to start over again.
Well, I to that point, I would say if we do say, look, let's start over again. Let's just start this thing over again. For as messy and as confusing as that is, and time-consuming, that we should then compensate the artist appropriately for that.
Okay.
We should add money to whatever is appropriate, $5,000 worth of budget, because he is working and this is his income. But Stuart, I wanted to ask you. I am a little unclear about the order of things. If we decide not to recommend it, it goes to the city council automatically without our recommendation, or are we the stopping point, and at which point it goes back to the arts subcommittee? I'm not quite sure the order of what would happen if we should decide to do that.
Let me see if I can find the policy.
If I may, through the chair, I agree with David that we don't recommend this with our concerns and state that. But David is so much more articulate. We should make the motion.
Okay. Thank you. I agree with you with that. Lyle has his hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to echo very similar to what Renee said and following what David said. To me, there isn't recommend it with changing people. I just feel that the mural itself misses the mark. It misses the mark of what I believe the RFP was about and what the intent of it is. I think it looks nice, but I think it's missing the mark that we're looking for. Advocating recreation, the skate park, recreation, and the community all together. I think it's missing that. So I would not recommend this to move forward.
Okay. I think
I liked your, because I didn't look at it until you said billboard, Lyle. And I thought, you know what, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, all of you think of what kind of a motion you're going to be making. So as soon as we hear from Stuart what the guidelines are for this process, we should be prepared to make a motion.
Okay, so what the policy says is the Parks and Recreation says after the final design has been submitted to the commission, there will be a presentation made on it. Representatives from other city departments and any stakeholder groups will be invited to attend the commission meeting and participate in the review. The Parks and Recreation Commission will make its recommendation to the council on the final design, and then the next step is the final design will be approved by city council. So it probably means reviewed as opposed to approved. That should be changed. So it doesn't say that it would go back to it does not say it would go back to the subcommittee, to the art selection committee. It says whatever you make your recommendation, and then that recommendation would go along with the proposal to the city council. We were really optimistic about it approved.
Right. So if we say that so at this moment, if we end up with a motion and we all agree to ask that they start this process again because of the beautiful way that David put it. There is there's a potential then that I just froze. Sorry. So I just want to make sure that we're all knowing that. David?
I would hope that if we make a motion to disapprove the art as it is today with recommendation to start over, and it were to be voted on by the members of this committee, that the council members would take into account that and whatever recommendation they would have.
I would hope you're right.
Is that the motion that's on the floor?
Well, so we haven't made a motion yet. I need someone to make a motion.
I might add to that, or ask if we want to add to that with that recommendation is the suggestion that the artist is compensated accordingly.
Yeah. So do we have anybody that wants to put a motion in forward and say it the way that is eloquent, David?
I motion to disapprove the art recommendation and request that we start the process with compensation for the artists that has spent the time and energy to do this, so that we can get to a new piece of art that is reflective of both the community, reflective of recreation, and something that has the right balance between welcoming folks into the community and the recreation that we seek to represent on it.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All righty. Do we go to the question, or we've already had the question, right? So we just go all in favor?
We have to go through.
Right. We have to do
Do I need to roll call this?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, who seconded?
I seconded it.
Kevin. Okay. Chairperson Boggs.
I vote yes.
Commissioner Boligoff.
Yes.
Commissioner Cavino.
Yes.
Commissioner Fryer.
Yes.
Commissioner Marmion.
Yes.
And Commissioner Needham.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So we're going to send this off to the City Council, and I appreciate all of your honest input. That was, I think, important for us to look at and talk about. The next thing that we move on to is reports. And I have no report as the chairperson. And we don't have any reports for subcommittee meetings at this point. And at this time, we will not have to schedule any of our subcommittee meetings. We will be having a trail subcommittee meeting, which will be scheduled soon. And commissioners, do we have any commissioner reports? Nope. Okay. And staff reports.
So we have a department report. Sarah is going to go ahead and do a screen share. We have a PowerPoint presentation. It's been quite a while since we met with all of you, and so we wanted to update you on what we've been doing to keep busy since the whole world seems to have changed. When the pandemic started, we entered into the shelter-in-place situation, and we wanted residents to know that we were still here for them. We believe that recreation comes to the rescue in some of life's most difficult times, and therefore we rolled out the Smile Brisbane campaign, which is an initiative focused on continued service to our residents and intends to combat social isolation and support community health and wellness. Over the last several months, our team has curated. Sarah, can you do the slideshow up top? Yeah. There we go. Our team of staff has created multiple remote recreational opportunities for residents of all ages and is sharing them via our social media platforms, including YouTube, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and we're even now on TikTok, so we're super fancy. The Smile Brisbane campaign has included story time for preschoolers, art contests, science projects, Earth Day activities, nature scavenger hunts, get to know the staff video series, our baseball coaches sharing drills, socially distanced egg hunt, uplifting videos from city staff, access to virtual wellness classes online, Chalk the Walk, window teddy bear hunt, Zoom Pictionary with our school-aged after-school program kids, and even a congratulatory message for graduates and more. So needless to say, our staff has been keeping very busy, trying to continue to live out the mission of our department and trying to keep people smiling and their spirits up during this unprecedented time. This is just a screen grab of our YouTube channel, so feel free to go and check out all the fun videos on there. When we entered into the pandemic, we also recognized the importance of remaining connected to our senior population. Our senior recreation leader, Teresa, who works at the Sunrise Room, immediately started doing weekly phone calls to all of our seniors to remain connected and to kind of assess what their needs were and to help offset social isolation issues. We also started doing weekly meals for seniors on Mondays and Wednesdays in conjunction with the Lions Club, as well as Samaritan House, and that's been going very well on a regular basis. We have about 60 seniors that we serve weekly, and it's a combination of delivery and pickup. So it's been great that we've been able to offer those services with the help of those organizations. The city also established the Brisbane COVID-19 Response Coalition, which thanks to Sharon Boggs, who kind of was very integral in getting that up and running, and to our Park and Rec staff also, who have been helpful in kind of monitoring and assisting with pairing volunteers and matching their the needs of residents as they come through the system. So thank you to Sharon and Tricia, who have both worked very hard on that. It's been really helpful, I think, addressing some of the individualized needs of our residents and making sure that anybody who needs the support and assistance has access to it. So thank you for that, Sharon. The other thing that we've recognized through this process is how truly important and essential childcare is. We've spent the last couple of months trying to piece together a childcare program for the summer that meets the requirements of the county health order and also is structured within the parameters of the CDC. So we have structured a 5-week-long program this summer that will allow stable groups of 12 children and 3 staff at various locations throughout the city. There will be no overlap of staff or participants for the full duration of the summer program. There will also be no off-site field trips, and we've been in the process of developing a parent handbook that outlines our COVID adaptations and just general protocol and procedures for offering a child care program this summer. Our hope is that we can provide an environment that meets the social and emotional needs of children in the safest manner possible. We also think it's really important for parents and guardians who have elected to enroll their children to understand that there's inherent risk with having their children participate in a group child care setting at this time. Currently, the enrollment is now open to the public. We currently have 33 enrolled. So we are full steam ahead planning with the program beginning on July 6th. Just another announcement, our parks and recreation facilities remain closed. We understand the importance of doing our part to prevent further spread of the virus, and such we continue to discourage gatherings outside of non-family units. We understand the desire for residents to get back outside and to participate in all of the wealth of recreational facilities that we have available, but we want to do so in the safest manner possible. And so we appreciate the patience and understanding of our residents to make sure that when we do open our facilities that we're doing it in a responsible manner that prevents further spread of the virus. So at this time, all of our facilities remain closed. As you may have already heard, we unfortunately had to cancel our summer concert series for the 2020 summer. All of the bands were notified and are being rescheduled to next summer if it works for them. We'll also notify sponsors and donors to give them the option to receive a refund for this year's donation or to roll it over until the next summer. It seems as though many people are opting to roll over their donation to next year, which is really nice. Our team has drafted a series of posters similar to those you may have seen from the National Park System that include focal images within town with words that serve to strengthen and unify the community during this time. These posters were created a few weeks ago. However, in light of recent events, we decided to delay sharing them with the community so that our focus and emphasis could be put towards current events. On that note, our team has drafted the posters on the next slide for a solidarity series to demonstrate our support of recent movements. The impact that these events have had in our lives is profound, I think, for most of us. The city feels very compelled to publicly condemn racism and social injustice and to express our support for the Black Lives Matter movement. As far as project updates, I figured these questions might come up, so I wanted to share with each of you where they stand. We are moving forward with our BES Childcare modular replacement this summer, and you'll see construction out on site in the coming weeks. The bottom photo there is our empty Childcare modular, which was in place there for, I think, 18 years. So we're sad to see it go, but very ready to see it go, and excited about the potential that the new facility will lend. Another project that's moving forward are the e-ink signboards, which we, as a commission, have worked on for years. And the contract is officially signed and the order officially placed, and the units are being put into production. We anticipate a minimum of 12 weeks for production. And so hopefully later this year, we'll be installing those units. And lastly, the master planning for Crocker Park Trail is also moving forward. The consultant was selected and contract signed. A kickoff meeting with city staff and the consultant will be occurring in 2 weeks from yesterday. And following that meeting will be a virtual convening of the Technical Advisory Committee, which consists of representatives from the Parks and Recreation Trails Subcommittee, members from Open Space and Ecology, members from the Public Art Advisory Committee, members from Complete Street Safety Committee, as well as a representative from San Bruno Mountain Watch, who will all serve as key stakeholders throughout the duration of the project. And of course, there will be ample opportunities for the public to provide input and to be part of the process as well. So that is moving forward, and we're very excited about that as well. That's all I have for updates.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Noreen.
All right.
We're moving on to commission matters.
May I ask Noreen?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Noreen, is there any update on what's going to happen with the dog park? We did make a recommendation to the city council for the turf resub.
Yes, and our staff was in the process of collecting bids for the scope of work when COVID hit. So that process has been somewhat delayed, but hopefully by the time we have our next commission meeting, I can provide you with an update.
Yeah, it'd be great if that could just get that work done too while we're still closed. The turf would grow.
That would be great.
Big turf.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. Then we're going to go on to commission matters, which written communications. Does anybody have anything to discuss or bring up? Nope. And then the commission calendar. Surprise, we're already here in summer. So we usually take a month off in the summer. So we need to decide, do we want to have again? Yes.
You froze again.
Okay. Damn, I'm so sorry. Normally I do not have issues. Tonight is insane. So we need to decide if we want July to be our month off or August at this point. So we just need to decide. Opinions?
I think July. because maybe by August we could meet regularly.
Maybe.
What sort of agenda, are there any pressing agenda items that would favor one month over the other?
Only if
I don't think we
something
have
happens.
anything overly pressing.
Okay.
What about if the commission or the city council comes back and asks us then to make recommendations, since we've now we're asking them to start the project over?
That was going to be my only.
They could, but they would be discussing it at their meeting next week, and then they're taking the months of July and August off and not reconvening until September. So if they ask the commission for some follow-up action, we could do so at one of our summer meetings prior to when they reconvene.
Okay.
Well, if they're taking July and August off, shall we take July and August off? I mean, nothing will get, maybe.
I think good idea.
Is that something that's possible? Is that something we can do, and is that something that you guys would recommend? If it's or not recommend? I mean, is there any reason we shouldn't do that?
It's possible. I might recommend if the commission chooses to skip the July meeting, and then we can see where we're at in July as far as the August meeting is concerned. If there's nothing pressing, then we can push it off further. But it would probably make sense to just cancel one at a time at this point.
Okay. All right. So do we have a motion from anyone?
I'll make a motion that we skip the July meeting for 2020.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay. All in favor? Roll call.
Did anybody second?
I did.
Bonnie.
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Bonnie. Chairperson Boggs?
Yes.
Commissioner Bolagoff?
Yes.
She seconded, I guess, right? She doesn't have to call it again, does she?
She said yes.
Okay, there you go. Commissioner Cavino?
Yay. Yes.
I have a really unstable internet connection here, so I don't know if it's me or you guys. Commissioner Cavino said yes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, sorry. Commissioner Fryer?
Yes.
Commissioner Marmion?
Yes.
Commissioner Needham?
Yes.
All right. So we are skipping the July meeting, and we will get back to whether or not August is in the works. Which brings me to adjournment. And unless there's anything else from anybody, I would like to adjourn this meeting. Anyone have anything? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all so much for bearing with me through this.
Thank you. And well done, Sharon. You did a good job.
Oh,
Thank you. You did a good job.
You did a great
Thank
job.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was fun.
Stay safe.
Tell me when to start.
Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for participating in Brisbane's virtual town hall with me, Councilmember Madison Davis, and Councilmember Cliff Lentz. Tonight, we are also joined by two community members, Jane Chandler, Senior Director of the Community Resource Center of the YMCA, and Sharon Boggs, co-founder of the Brisbane Community Response Coalition, BCRC for short. I'd like to share some ground rules for those participating with us via Zoom. Just know that all participants will be muted except for the city council members and presenters. Unmuting and muting will be controlled by the city clerk, Ingrid Padilla. You can switch off your camera at any time. Please use the chat function to ask a question, which Ingrid will pass along, or raise the hand feature in the participants tab, and Ingrid will unmute you so you can ask your question at the appropriate time. This meeting is also being live streamed on the city's YouTube channel, where it will also be available for playback afterwards at youtube.com/BrisbaneCA. This town hall recording will also be available on the city's website, brisbaneca.org.